Hello and welcome along to what movies I have watched in the month of August 2020. And as you can see, my lightbox is making a welcome return to the channel, and by popular demand. And I asked my wife to set this up for me, and as you can see, she's done a great job. Let's move on. So August was a good month. The only thing was that some of the movies I would have wanted to watch didn't take place in August because I was getting my flooring done. Thank God for, we've been on about this for a while, and it got done, but the TV was out of service for a couple of days, so that put a bit of a block on some films watched. But that being said, I did watch some films this month, so I want to share them with you this month. Yes. Okay, so the first one I watched was a 4K of Thor Ragnarok. Now, I'd heard good things about this movie, mainly that it was different to most of the other Marvel Universe films. You could liken it a little bit to Guardians of the Galaxy because it had some humour in it. That's what I heard about it. So this is off eBay, so it's quite cheap. It was only £10, good condition, slipcase of course. And I went in with it just thinking it would be a Guardians of the Galaxy type affair, because I had heard a few poor reviews on earlier Thor movies. They were a bit serious, It's not my cup of tea, that type of thing. But I was very pleasantly surprised by this film. It is really funny. It's really good. It looks great on 4K, and it's obviously bright. It's colourful. It's well worth a watch on the 4K medium. And the humour in it is something that I wasn't expecting it to be so off the wall and offbeat, but it really suited the film. And I've heard that the director, who is called, and I'm going to hopefully pronounce this right. So yes, the director's name is Taika Waititi. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. And this film is highly recommended for the fact that it's a good looking film. It's really funny. It's really different. And I do urge anybody to see it. Anybody who hasn't seen it to see it is a welcome. It's probably one of my favourite ones in the Marvel Universe films at this time. Very good. The next one was a film that I watched because I'd been watching one of Movie Worm's reviews on what he had watched, I think, or a movie review that he'd seen. And it was the second part in these films. The first part is Happy Death Day. Now, this film, it does sort of sound a lot like Happy Death Day 2U, which is the sequel, which I'm more than interested to see. This film is more like a sort of a horror Groundhog Day, where this woman wakes up and something happens to her, and then she wakes up again and she knows what's going to happen, so she tries to get out of the inevitable occurrence of what's going to happen to her on that day. It's a really good film. It's a bit different. It's when Scream came along and it was just different. This film it doesn't seem to tread familiar water, so for me it was a really good film, and I was really and I got that off the back of Movie Worm's recommendation just to watch the sequel. So I will be watching the sequel, but I highly recommend this film. It is a really good watch, and it's somewhat different as well. It's got a nice bit of humour in it, and it's a bit of a break from the norm. Very highly recommended that one. Did really enjoy it. The next one is I'm going to try and watch 3 Arrow films on my Arrow selection. I'm going to try and watch 3 of them in a month. Now, the ones that I've chosen, I did get 3 watched this month, but the first one I watched was 1, and these are ones that I have maybe seen a long time ago or just haven't seen, and was the Honeymoon Killers. Now, this film here is based on a true story. It has great performances by the lead lady there, who is called Shirley Stoller, and also the lead man Tony Lobianco, and it's filmed in this way on purpose, that it's like very low budget. It almost looks as if it's like a sort of semi-documentary in form. It's in black and white. It reminds me highly of a John Waters type of film, which for me can only mean a good thing. And it does play on the fact that it is low budget, but the film itself, the murders in here, even though they aren't, well, they are kind of graphic in a way. They're not really, it wasn't what I was expecting. They were treated in quite a sort of brutal, for the time it was made in '69, quite a brutal way. And I can understand why this film got a lot of notoriety for that. But When you take the film away, this one's a double play, and the performances, especially of this lady here, who plays the real life Martha Beck, it's absolutely amazing. You do get like a lot of extras on here, and I watched the extras, and the extras are really good as well. I highly recommend this film. It was a really good watch. I don't remember watching this back in the day, but now I come to see this film now in a new light. I do highly rate it, and I urge people to see this film. The next film I got was I watched was a film called, I'm going to get a picture of this because I didn't actually watch this on Sky Movies in high definition, because you can't buy it in the UK in high definition, and I'm kind of glad about that, because after I didn't really want it to expect to keep it. But the next film I watched was The Fanatic with John Travolta. Now, I was interested in seeing this film for a couple of reasons, because I had seen clips of it and I'd seen John Travolta's performance in it, and I also knew it was directed by Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit, a fly-by-night band in the 90s, and for me it was intriguing to see what sort of stance they would have on this. Now, this film I think really missed the mark quite a lot, and I'll tell you why. Because for me this film does centre around this character here, who does have probably a form of Asperger's, and all he wants to do is what he wants to do, and he doesn't see anything wrong with it. Now, that's one stance. Now, the film, he goes and sort of not stalks on purpose, but he does end up kind of stalking somebody, although he doesn't realise he's stalking somebody, just for an autograph and just to get some time with him. And it takes into a dark place where he makes bad decisions against the advice of anybody he knows, to say don't go down that route. So he can't stop himself, because I think his Asperger's is driving him into that, and that's his side of the story. The other side of the story is maybe from the point of view of the person, the celebrity who he's stalking, who doesn't want anything to do with him, because he sees him as a threat, because he keeps turning up on his doorstep. Now, that's fair enough. That's a good premise for a film. But what I don't like about it, or I'm not comfortable with, is the fact that, in a way, it seems to be coming from the view that the character of John Travolta is really bad for doing what he's doing, as if it's not really laughing at him, but it's not taking into any consideration that his point of view. And I think John Travolta's performance from it does miss the mark, because he's probably gone into it thinking maybe he was going to do it and sort of investigate that type of character, but it doesn't really work that way. The way that Fred Durst has directed it, it seems to direct it against the John Travolta character, as if somebody like that with Asperger's is a menace, which they aren't. And it really does miss the mark completely with me, and I don't understand why it was made, if I'm honest. I'm glad I've seen it, because I wanted to know what it's all about, but I don't think that this film is good in any way, because it comes all of these quite interesting social viewpoints from a completely wrong angle. That's my point of view anyway. So for me, The Fanatic, avoid it. If you want to see it to realise how bad it is, not for the fact that the film's bad, it's for the viewpoints that the film takes, well, it's up to you, but you'll not be missing much if you don't watch it. So the next film I watched was a normal film, and it was 4K version of Murder on the Orient Express. Now, I was urged to watch this by Movie Collector, John from Movie Collector, and it is a great film, and he said it's one of the best transfers he's seen, and I do agree with him. Up to a certain point, I would say that there's elements of this film that look stunning, and then there's elements of this film that doesn't really look, it all looks stunning, but I think the HDR in it is kind of lost in some of the scenes, because a lot of it takes place inside the train. I mean, the picture quality is exceptional, but for me, I would like to see more outdoors, and I think more outdoors the outdoor scenes in this film are spectacular. But I think that the picture quality doesn't suffer at all, don't get us wrong. It looks sharp and clean all the way through, and the face and everything like that, and the dark colours, it just strikes me as a film that, unfortunately, in the settings it's in, it doesn't really come to life as much as I thought it was going to come to life. But it is a good film, and I did like watching it, I must admit. And me and my wife watched that, so I had a good time with it. The next film is one of the ones that I watched in my Let's Watch Some Arrow films this month. And it is a one that I started a while ago, but I didn't get through it. So I went back to it, and it's Tenderness of the Wolves. Now, I originally thought that this had something to do with a serial killer called Peter Curtin, in a German serial killer, but it wasn't. It was an actual other serial killer in Germany called, if I can find out who he is, it's called Fritz Harman. He was called Fritz Harman. Now this fella here, I think he didn't direct, no, he might have directed it, and he starred in this part. Now the film itself is, I wouldn't say it was shocking. It's quite controversial in its subject content. I must admit, it had some, very uncomfortable scenes in it. I do think that it's a good film, and I watched the extras with it, and I did understand that the extras, why they were on, why this film is in the way it is, and it's had a lot to do with this director called Werner Fassbender, who was a friend of him, and all of the things that they had, the communication in this film, that Andy Warhol was a friend of his as well, so it was in that sect that did this sort of low budget things, although this one seems to be a bit higher budget one. And it is a good film, and it has a strange premise in it that I think they know, the police in this film anyway, they seem to know what this fella's up to, but they say to him, if you work with the police, we'll turn a bit of a blind eye to what you've done in the past, which makes him just really exploit his power and go worse, if anything. But that's it's got your R card there, and it's a double play one with your Blu Ray and your DVD. It's a good film. I don't know if I'd revisit this film too often, but it was okay. It wasn't too bad. Now the next film I watched was on the back of a film that I watched last month, and I watched this on Amazon Prime, and it was the making of the Silent J and Bob reboot, Magnum Dopis. This is it was a really good making of, and it's a feature length film version of the making of, and it tells you about how Kevin Smith and Jay got together, Muse got together for this next one, and the fact that Kevin Smith had a heart attack and he wanted him to get into it, and Jason Mewes has now got clean, and it was really it was quite emotional at the end as well. So it was a great, I mean, I love anything that these two do, so for me it was a must watch, and it went right into the storyline and told you all about the actors and the parts that they come into with their cameos and all that. So very entertaining it was, and I was glad I seen it, because I don't know if this is on the Jane Bob reboot, but it might be as an extra, but I felt like I had to watch this one because I haven't got that Blu Ray yet, but I do plan to watch it. Now the next film I watched was on Sky Movies, and it was Jumanji The Next Level. Me and my wife watched this, and it was on ultra high definition. It looked really nice as well. We do like these two Jumanji films. It's not the best film I've seen, but as it is, it's all right. I like these people. Obviously The Rock, Jack Black, Kevin Hart, and Karen Gillan. It's quite interesting to say that Kevin Hart is taller than Karen Gillan on this one, and she's probably about 2 feet taller than him, and probably 2 feet taller than him as well. But that being said, it was a good film, very enjoyable watch, just a bit of a mindless fun, and I would like to see them. I think they're going to do another one, so for that reason, yeah, why not? So after that, me and my wife watched a film which she was a bit scared about watching, but I talked her into it, and through her pillow watching, she did enjoy it, and it is the Invisible Man, and this film here is directed by Leigh Whannell. Now, when I watched the extras on here, I was totally unaware that Leigh Whannell was Australian. I thought he was American or even English, so I was quite surprised about that, it's funny when you realise where somebody is actually from. But The film itself is a really good watch, very entertaining. I would have liked it on 4K, but until the 4K comes down in price, I will make do with this. It looks perfectly good on Blu Ray. This was just £10 from Mazda, and as a film goes, it's really entertaining, and also it's quite good how they do how the fella is invisible in this. I do really think that's a good little kind of twist on the whole how somebody becomes invisible. Really good, and very suspenseful as well. My wife was actually, well, she watched most of it, but I think she watched the back of a pillow more than the film, which is good in a way, because sometimes you want to be on the edge of your seat from a film rather than just usual jump scares. There wasn't many jump scares in there was a couple, but it was really good, really interesting. And then I went and got so I've done quite a few Arrow films this month, which I'm more than pleased about, because I do want to sort of get back into watching them. I do love the Arrow version of Arrow films, and I think that there's a lot up there that I need to revisit or even watch. And this one here was the one I've been wanting to watch for quite a while, so I finally tracked it down. And it's the Lords of Chaos. Now, this film concerns a group called Mayhem, who were out in the late 80s, early 90s, and they're still going now, actually. Although there's only one. I think there's two members from this still around, and I think the two members are in this film. Well, the people portraying them are. And it concerns this band that gets together. They have, their premise of this music is death metal, which was just becoming quite popular at the time. And also, as an interesting side note, just a couple of miles down there is a place called North Shields, and the people who are credited as who more or less invented this genre, the band Venom, they were from a couple of miles away, believe it or not, and they've influenced masses of people like Slayer, Metallica, Mayhem, all this type of this stuff. So it's really interesting to think that somebody from that part of the world can influence other places, but I suppose they've got to come from somewhere, haven't they? So yeah, and you used to see Venom now and again knocking about all over the place, the band members from Venom, although I haven't seen the singer, but a lot of people have, and he probably comes back to the Northeast quite a bit, I would imagine. Anyway, so this film here takes place in the later part of the 80s, and it's about this group who get together. They've got this premise of death metal and they want to be extreme, and they try to do extreme shows. The singer, I'm not going to give you any spoilers on it, but the singer does commit suicide, which sort of this chain of events do come through the fact of him, the singer, who's called Dead. He shoots himself, and then the next thing there's a sort of train of events of church burnings and just mayhem that follows. The film is a really good film. The music is great as well. I wouldn't say I'm a great fan of Norwegian black metal, but the songs were okay. I didn't mind them at all. I don't mind people who do death growls and don't sing. I mean, one of my sort of a good band that I do like is Napalm Death, and I think they kind of maybe invented that. And I thought that was quite humorous at the time when Napalm Death come out and grunts all over the music. But the film itself, the music, and I would like to see a little bit more music, but that's just my personal opinion. A lot of people who have seen this do recommend it and think it's a great film. Mine is very brutal. It doesn't hold anything back in the violence in this film. I think it's great how they've done it, and also Rory Culkin, who stars in it, is amazing. I do find him in this film really good, and he plays Euronymous, who is somebody who he seems to in the film, although I didn't know this was a thing in real life, but it must have been. He sort of takes the credit for everything, and say if somebody does something, he says, well, I told you to do that, or that was my idea. And there's another fella who come into the band who's kind of in the peripheral of this band. I think he came in to play the bass as well. I can't remember his name, but he takes umbrage to that. That leads this whole tale of catastrophe. If you watch this film and you want to watch some stuff on YouTube, about Mayhem. It's got all of the real stuff and the real interviews with all the people in this band. I do urge you to watch more stuff into this, because it's all well worth a watch. Quite a fascinating story for maybe the wrong reasons. The next one was a film that I got and I watched from Arrow, and it is Yakuza Law. Now, I think I've talked about this on my on other videos, on another video, that this film here is for 1969 is extremely violent, and it's one, probably if I had to do a top 10 of violent films, this is going to be in the top 10. It is some of the scenes of revenge, and if you cross the Yakuza, this is what happens to you, this is what you've got to do. It's obviously there's all the cutting of the little fingers off. That's just, you would imagine that's coming, but some of the other things they do is just, you can't believe some of the stuff and it doesn't pull anything back from the violence. The violence, you see, if someone's going to get something done to them, you see the whole lot, whatever they're going to get, whatever torture, whatever death they're going to have. So the film itself is, like I say, it's from 1969, but it's very watchable. It's in a good print, and for me, I do highly recommend this, but not beware, because I would imagine everybody who's seen horror films don't mind the violence. But if you watch it, just be amazed at how absolutely violent this film is. Highly recommended though, did enjoy it. The next film I watched, and I was talking about this last night when I was speaking to, I was having a conversation with John from Movie Collector, and we're having to talk about all sorts of things, and we do get into many tangents, and we do go into many things about film, which is really entertaining for me. Now this film is Overdrive, starring Scott Eastwood. Now what I'd said to him was, I'm going to send, after I've done this, I'm going to send this down to him actually, for him to watch. For me, it had the promise of being a good film or a watchable film, but to be honest, the film itself faltered. The opening scenes is amazing. The picture quality, this is why I'm sending it to John, the picture quality on this is really stunning. It's one of the best Blu Rays I've ever seen. I don't know why it is, it just is, and it is a low budget film in essence. But Scott Eastwood there is the spitting image of his dad, Clint Eastwood, and for that film I was amazed by the picture quality. I was amazed by how much Scott Eastwood looks like Clint Eastwood, and I was kind of not really amazed by much else in the film, unfortunately. I did want to like it. I do like Scott Eastwood in other films, and I think he is a good actor, and I want to see him in more films. But unfortunately, if this is the type of film that he goes into, maybe he's missed his calling. He might have been better if he'd stuck to. But then again, you've just got to go where you go, I would imagine. But it's not, I wouldn't recommend you to watch it. If you saw it cheap and you wanted to see it, you might get away with it. But for me, I fell asleep towards the end. I don't really know what happened in the end, and I'm not really interested in finding out. My wife watched it and I said, what was it like? And she said, no, I don't know, can't remember. And she just watched it, so that shows you. So that's going to John. Hopefully he'll get something out of it. He might even like it. I mean, it's horses for courses. But I'll be interested to see what he says to me about the picture quality on here, because it is stunning. So there was some good come of that. Now, I just stuck this one on. It's a kind of feature length film in a way, and it is it's like a stage show of John Waters, like a stand-up stage show of him talking about his life and career. And if you like John Waters, this is a great film, sort of film to watch. It is like excuse me, it's a live thing that was filmed around about 2006, so it takes in most of his films, and it talks about obviously his relationship with Divine, his sort of muse, if you like that sort of analogy, and it talks about he's the master of bad taste, and it talked about the way that he would see some kind of thing happening and he would want to exploit it in the way of a film and in a way of a movie, and he would just tell these little anecdotes about all his films, and some of them have to be heard to believed in the way that he it's how he did these sort of gimmicks and stuff that he was putting in his film, and why he did it, and how his actors just went along with it and did what they did. Now anyone who's seen Pink Flamingos will know at what lengths you will see some of the things in Pink Flamingos, and he was just saying to people, will you do this? And they would say yes, no problem, and they would do whatever it was. Pink Flamingos is not really available anywhere. It is available, I think, on DVD, special edition DVD in the States, as far as I know. I don't know if it's still in print. But I do urge you to see John Waters films. But by the way, you must know what you're getting into with John Waters, because he's not for everybody. But this film here, this DVD, which you probably can get very cheap in anywhere really, he just makes the stories about the films are more, not the funnier, not better than the films, but they do a good accompaniment to the fact of him, how he puts across what he was gonna, his viewpoints on how he wanted to make a film. A little anecdote that he told was that there was a famous case in America in the late 60s or 70s, and he decided that he does these sort of guerrilla movies where he would just set up and just do it and film it and go. And there was somebody who was like, I'm going to say it's a famous murder, and some well-to-do person got killed, and he made a film about it. That I've never seen the film, I can't remember what it's called now, but he made the film, a very early film of his. He got the film, he made it, and he had it ready in a couple of days. Now what had happened was, he said the people the family members who went to the funeral of this person actually drove by a billboard that he put up of this film. So the huge kind of bad taste element about that is that these people were grieving about this senseless murder of this girl, and he had made a film about it. So it just shows you his mindset of these things, and he's never changed. So for me, I highly recommend anything to do with him, but also this is a really good watch as well. So anyway, so that's about it. But the last thing I want to talk about is my movie of the month, and without a shadow of a doubt, this movie that I've watched this month is by far the best movie I've seen. I did enjoy those films, most of them, but this film for me just topped it all, and I was immediately entranced by it. And I urge anybody to see this film who hasn't seen it, and it is the amazing Jojo Rabbit. Now, I went in this film not knowing anything about it. I didn't really understand. I didn't know that the director of Thor Ragnarok, which I thought was really good, was the same director until sort of more or less when I looked it up in my phone to see what it was all about. And for that reason, I'm glad I didn't know anything about it, but I did find all these, these things on I did look into it actually after the film. But without giving you any spoilers, this film is one of the funniest films I've ever seen. The director there, who is called, I keep forgetting his name, Taika Waititi, which you shouldn't forget his name like that. He's amazing as the boy here, Jojo Rabbit, and you'll understand why he's called Jojo Rabbit when you watch the film. His sort of he's got Hitler as an imaginary friend who gives him advice, and it's all about the fact of him wanting to be in Hitler Youth, and he doesn't get into it, unfortunately, through an accident, and he actually finds a Jewish girl hiding in his house, and it's all about the film of him being utterly disgusted that there's a Jewish person in the house, because obviously he's been brainwashed a bit by Hitler and Hitler Youth and that. And it's all about, it's to do with the sort of last days of Hitler, maybe the last year of Hitler's reign of terror. But I don't want to say anything more than that, because this film has an impact, and you'll know if you've either seen this film or you're going to watch this film, or you after you've watched it, you know exactly what I mean about the fact that this isn't just a comedy. It is much more than that. And I was taken on this bit of an emotional roller coaster with this film, and it was really, 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 like, how can I put it without giving anything away? It was unexpectedly complete in everything. You got every emotion you could ever get from this film. It's not just an out-and-out comedy. There's much more to this film. I highly, highly recommend this film. It is without doubt the best film, the best new film I've seen this year, hands down. So that's my haul. That's my long haul actually for the month of August. Hope you August should I say. hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be doing more videos from the shelves, because on my last video I asked would people prefer to see the shelves, and most people said yes, the shelves should make an appearance, in which they shall on most of my videos. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like or subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.